So, recommended books to read. Obviously, this is obviously a bit off topic to, you know, what I've been talking about in this episode. But uh, I thought that it was, you know, it would be good to share. Obviously, at the end, after I got done talking basketball, I just wanted to add this to the episode. So currently, I am reading Stephen A's book, Straight Shooter. I'm about 40 pages in. It's a good book. It's a good read thus far. Um, Stephen A gets in depth in terms of his personal life, growing up in Hollis, Queens, his family dynamic and things of that, and his basketball career and everything like that. Um, been pretty interesting to learn some of these things about Stephen A. Um, who I believe should be celebrated. Um, he's debatably, in my opinion, the greatest at what he does in terms of his journalism and sport journalism and sport reporting and things of that nature. What he does, I think he's debatably the greatest ever at what he does. Um, and in my opinion, he needs to be acknowledged that Stephen A. has been uh, consistent in terms of showing up for work and always having the facts in terms of info and being the up to date info on the NBA, and he's just always been sharp with sports. And so he's consistent, like I said, in terms of his appearance. You know, Stephen A is going to be at work. And so I think, when it comes to first take and appearing at this uh, event and this that, I see his work ethic, and I think it's something to recognize, especially being a African American man and a minor. It's not too many people of his background doing what he does, and he should be acknowledged for it. So, um, shout out to Stephen A. Smith. It's a great read. I'm looking forward to finishing the book. Like I said, about 40 pages in, and so yeah. Next, book I finished recently reading, David Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Um, yeah, he's a tough guy, to say the least. I've learned a lot from his book, Can't Hurt Me. Mental toughness and his upbringing, very challenging upbringing, and to see that he overcame what he overcame. It's amazing, and like I said, it's definitely recommend that anybody who has had a rough upbringing, childhood, definitely read "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, because you know uh, if what he experienced and went through, can definitely be motivation and inspiration for anybody else. So I definitely recommend his book. And yeah, another book that I have read that I think is dope, Russ, the rapper, Get Out of Your Way. It's all in your head. Super dope book. I learned just, obviously his story, his background, how he got into music, and you know what inspired him. And I've been inspired by him. Really learned how to, like I said, get out of my own way, believe in myself, manifest what it is I want out of my life, uh, like him. And so I definitely recommend this book out there for people to read, man. You can learn a lot about how to have hard work, be patient, how to grind, and believe in yourself when nobody else does. You know what I mean? So, yeah, get out of here. Then another book that I've read that I recently read that I enjoyed, Flip Your Life by Shabazz, the OG. Um, he's a brother from Philadelphia. I learned a lot about him. Definitely follow him on his Instagram page, Shabazz, the OG. You can get a lot of game from him. I get a lot of game and knowledge and understanding from him. So, um, this book also that he wrote gave me a lot of wisdom, knowledge. I learned about his upbringing. It's pretty tough. He grew up in Philly, what he had to overcome and stuff like that. So, um, you know, definitely recommend that book. Another book, Dapper Dan, Made in Harlem. Uh, Definitely a great book to read. Great read for me. I learned a lot about, the fashion legend, fashion god, Dapper Dan, and his, you know, historic uh, career in fashion, what he's been able to accomplish, what he had to go through, how he got to, where he got, you know, um, the road he went. Um, I'm also a fashion designer, so I'm very interested in the fashion design thing, and I learned a lot about that. His road, his unorthodox road, being African American man trying to um, have a career in fashion, which he did, and he's been a major influence uh, throughout the world. You know what I mean? In fashion, and so you learn his life in Harlem, his upbringing in Harlem, his life. He grew up in Harlem. Traveled the world, went to Africa, traveled, came back. So he had you know went through some adversities growing up, and a lot to learn. You know what I mean, and to take in that I have. And like I said, it's definitely a great read. So, Made in Harlem, Dapper Dan. And then lastly, Principles by Ray Dalio. It's probably like a game changing book for me. I learned a lot from this book. I learned how to have principles in my own life and to live by principles. You know what I mean? Live by principles. And to make my own principles to live by. But I learned, some of the principles that Ray Dalio himself lived by, and the principles he applies in his business, um, and how he's been able to become successful as a entrepreneur. Um, Definitely some informative info in that book, and yeah, definitely recommend that book, man. And said this podcast for me is all about being informative and educational, and just trying to get people to be as formed as possible. So, didn't want to, I got off topic in terms of said this episode being about basketball, but I did want to add this part in because I just want y'all to, like I said, be informed and educated in as much way possible as y'all can, man. And I can, like I said, I just want to share with y'all. So